David Moore, Dallas Morning News. 3 consecutive games with 2 turnovers for Dak, first time in his career. Where is this with you being a young team, some miscommunication? Where is it taking risks at times that maybe it shouldn't be taken? I mean, how do you, I know each one's different, but how do you break this trend down overall?
Well, taking care of the football obviously is the most important deciding factor of winning and losing football games, and nobody understands that more than Dak. Each one is its separate deal. I think Mike talks to you guys. I know I've mentioned it before. I mean, there's 2 types of interceptions. There's bad decisions and bad throws, or things that are affected by things that happen. You look at the second interception, Dak would love to have that one back. The first one to Terp, he steps up, he tries to throw it, it has a little bit too much air, he gets hit. Love for Terp to be able to break that thing up. At that point when you realize, shoot, I can't get to the ball, I got to become the defender, try to knock it down. But again, Dak's going to play. Dak's going to do his deal. Again, we're all involved in taking care of the football. But to be -8 right now is obviously a losing formula. So we need to take care of the football better, and it starts with all of us.
Clarence Hill, All City, Dallas, the turnovers historically is not what Dak does. Is he pressing too much?
I don't think so. I think, we've been behind in some games. Dak's a competitor. To say that he's pressing, I would say no. Like I said, each one's different. But I think when you look at it, to say that we're at -8, we're at -8. And again, that is not the formula that you want to win football games. And so we'll just keep looking at it, keep talking about it. But again, each one is different. In each situation, you just got to look at, was it a bad decision? Was it bad throws, or things are going to happen? That's football, right? Ball gets tipped, different things like that. But the things we got to make sure we're staying on top of are the decision.
Brian, Todd Archer with ESPN. Coach McCarthy was in here talking earlier about communication errors. Is that mostly been line errors, line to quarterback, line to line, quarterback to pass catchers, all across the board? How do you look at it?
I would say all across the board. I think, and it's disappointing because we really had a great week, I thought, of prep. Didn't turn out that way for us, but the walkthroughs in the practice last week, I thought our communication was probably as good as it's been. But there was some things where, again, the declaration's made, everybody's got to see the declaration, the blocking combinations need to go there, and just there was some things that weren't tied together. And so both run and pass. And so there's an early thing in the game where 59's unblocked in the hole. That was a communication issue. So again, it starts with Coop. Beebe, he's doing a really good job with all his declarations, but we got to share the information from inside out. We got to make sure it's not just the center making the call, it's getting passed from the guard to the tackle the tight end, and the key is getting the thing started. And I think we've done that okay, but again, we've got to be better with the details of the communication and sharing the information.
That it's week 8 or 9 or whatever we're on, and that's still a problem? Is that, how troublesome is that?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're obviously not pleased with it. It's hurting our ability to move the football. It's hurting our ability to get people covered up. So again, I think it starts with me and making sure those guys are doing the right job of carrying over the things that they did well in practice to the game. It was a cool environment last night, but it wasn't overly loud where we shouldn't have been able to get the calls, passed along the way we needed to. We should have done that better.
Brian Schottenheimer of The Athletic. Mike talked about Dak is getting hit a lot. What do you attribute that to? Why do you think all those hits are piling up?
Again, different reasons. We've been in some games where, again, it showed up yesterday, right? We kind of playing on the ball, playing fast in 2 minutes, and they kind of knew we had to go and throw it around a little bit. We've been hit with some movement, some games, and some of it is, there's been times where guys have been covered, and so the thing that you look for that is how are we getting the guys open above the 2.3, or the scramble phase is certainly something that we've been good at. I think we had one yesterday that I can remember to JT down our sideline where he escaped out to the left. But, again, it's been different guys. And that's where, again, we have to take a hard look at it and say, okay, are we getting the ball out fast enough? Are we doing enough from protection variation? And then, again, doing a good job working some of the 2-on-2 pass rush games that are going to show up where they're pretty wicked pick stunts, where defensive end comes down and spikes the guard in the face and they loop the defensive tackle around, things like that, that when they kind of know you're throwing, it makes it more difficult for you.
And both in the hits for Dak and the running game lanes, what does the offensive line need to do to be more efficient in those areas?
Yeah, again, the biggest thing with games is two things. Number one, you got to play with great extension. So you got to punch and get extension because that kind of holds the guy at bay. And then there's a violence part of it where if I'm the guy that's got to go with the guy looping, I have to violently knock it down because what they're doing is they're trying to pick you, hit you in the side or hit you in the shoulder to create a seam that gives the guy coming from outside or inside a lane. And so you have to violently shove that seam closed, and it takes time. And again, there's some young pieces up front, but that's no excuse. We have to be better with it.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. There's been a lot of discussion about the route running on your team. How are you guys running routes? Are you happy where you are? I know you got some young guys.
Yeah.
But overall, how do you think you guys are running routes?
Again, I think, like most things, it's been a little bit inconsistent. Our starting point here is to jump out of our shoes. We want everything to come off the go ball, the go route. We definitely have some, like most teams in the league, we have some what we call hezzy releases or things where you kind of come off the ball under control for different reasons. But again, at the end of the day, we're judged on making sure we get enough separation. And I would say it's been inconsistent. And something that, we're always looking for ways to do that. How do you do that? You create bunches, you create stacks, you use formations and motions and shifts, things like that. But I would say, all in all, it's been inconsistent.
Nick Harris, forward Star Telegram. You guys use a lot with the running backs in the pass protection side of things, put them in the backfield, line them up outside the tackles a lot last night. Is there anything more that you guys can do with those guys to help the protection unit, or are you already kind of throwing everything you have?
We have multiple protection variations for sure. I think, if you watch those guys, it's, they're doing a nice job cleaning some of the games. And it really is kind of a catch-22, if you will, because sometimes when they're looking for games and trying to knock color back onto people, Zeke had one great late in the game against 51, I think. Literally put him out of the game, caught him. That's an unbelievable rib shot. But sometimes they get caught up in there trying to look for too much help, and we lose an outlet or a check down underneath. So I think it's tying all that stuff together where, hey, I can kind of do both. I need to get out, but on my way getting out, I need to look for color, look for ribs like Zeke did on that one. And that kind of ties together with just their footwork, their path, their reads, and things like that.
Jake Ferguson proved to be a safe option for Dak last year when he was feeling pressure a little bit. Is that a guy that you would like to see get involved a little bit more than he has been?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he does a good job with some of the chip protection stuff we do. He's easy to find, got good ball skills, and he's been a safe outlet for us in the past.
Babe Loffenberg, 105.3 The Fan. Brian, I always think you play the game that's presented to you that day, and you've been a play caller, obviously, probably will be again. But at what point in that game did you say, we're really not able to block him? And then, obviously, when you're chipping and Ferguson's, every time before he goes out, you're not able to affect the underneath coverage.
Sure.
So how do you balance that?
It's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of discussion. You look at the situation of the game. We try to generate as much different, we call them time clock variations. So what are those? 3-step, 5-step, 7-step, half rolls, full rolls, boots, nakeds, all those different things, right? That's part of changing the time clock for the defense and the pass rush and also changing the launch point. The third quarter got away from us. We were unable to convert third downs, which kind of put us in a bind and weren't able to help the defense. And right around the start of the fourth quarter, we kind of felt like we had to go. We still mix some of those things in, different chips and things like that. But at the same time, you also you got to go a little faster, and so you lose the ability to chip and move some of those things. Because some of those things, you have to get them into position to do that. And so motions and shifts, things like that, and when you're kind of going up tempo, it's a little bit hard. So it can be a frustrating puzzle at times.
And then one interception came, I don't know what you call it exactly, sprint left, or I don't know the terminology you use, but came on that one play, and I think it's the only time he did it in the game.
Yeah, sprint to the left. They gave us a zone look. CD got stuck behind him, and they covered it really, really well. And in that situation, we need to throw it away.
Skyler Dixon with the AP. You mentioned Dak's interceptions. You all
looking at him, talking about him, how do you not dwell on him? Or is Dak the kind of guy where you don't really have to worry about him dwelling on him?
Well, again, you can't dwell on him. I mean, you got to go play the game. I mean, we trust Dak. Like, Dak's going to make way more good decisions than bad decisions. Like I said, of the interceptions, again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but like they're not all just him, right? And so you got to go play the game. And so, like I said, there's different things you build in, right? Like he takes the shot to Terp, and it wouldn't have been an easy play, but Terp realizes I don't have good leverage. The safety's right there. The ball's hanging. At that point, you do become the defender. You become the defensive back. Whether you tackle the safety or whatever you do, it's 1st and 10. You know, you just it all works together. And so part of that is, you know, when that happens, Babe will probably tell you, like, you know, you earn major credit from the receiver. If you leave a ball inside because you get hit in the chest, you leave a ball inside and it's not intercepted, it's broken up, believe me, the quarterbacks will be the first to be like, that was awesome. And so it's all tied together, but you got to play the game. You know, you got to play the game, and we think and feel very strongly that Dak will get out of this, and we'll get out of this. And we have to do that to be as good as we can be.
Why is Dak not running as much when the opportunity presents itself?
You know, again, different things. I mean, sometimes the rush lane discipline's been good. It's kept them in. Again, you know, there's been some checkdowns and outlets that he's trying to get to, but it doesn't always just happen naturally, you know. I thought he showed yesterday, again, the one to his left was a really hard play, the one that he hit to JT down the left sideline. But, yeah, just, again, people have done a nice job with the rush lane and kind of trying to keep them contained, but it's something that, you know, you look at, and based on the opponent and the way they rush, there are rush lanes that are created, and we'll just keep emphasizing that and trying to, you know, it's always easier when you can get out to your right. But, again, the fact that he went left yesterday and made the big play to JT, that shows you that we can do it. We've just not been doing it very consistent.
Brian, on a positive note, the first touchdown to CD on the little crosser, it looked like they played you man, front side, zone, backside. Nobody. Was that something that you guys had seen down there that they like to play that you kind of hit them with?
Yeah, we knew they had some young safeties that were playing, so we figured against some of the things, the crossing routes and stuff, if you don't match it perfectly, it's extremely hard. But again, one of those concepts where it's a pretty clean progression. You've got a starting point, you work your way across the board, and it's hard to pop a guy like CD that wide open.